Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Have the Race Gone for round 5 of the VSRS Grand Prix Series with a week's delay because of, well, lovely PD. I am here with the young Fynn, but the talented Fynn as well. And we're here to guide you, to entertain you through tonight's action here. It's going to be a very nice one indeed. It's such a nice track, and we've got qualifying live indeed. It's time for the old Formula 1 intro. So with that done, I messed it up. I should have queued that earlier, shouldn't I? Well, anyways, it's so nice to have you along. And we've got 5 short minutes of qualifying here from a track that is as old school as I am, by the way, by now. Born in 1990, turning 30 this year. This track has the barriers right next to the track limits. It's very fast, coming into some huge braking zones, and surely no one would approve of racing going on here in the mud and pavement.
No, definitely not in real life, but that's the good thing about GT is that we can run fictional tracks like this. As you said, high speed into low speed, which will mean overtaking will be definitely a factor in these races. With the small grid we have today after the GT Sport update on the new slipstream physics.
So we're just seeing from race direction that multiple drivers, have been experiencing the now very dreaded pit bug. So they can certainly wreck our racing by wrecking the dirty air, but the pit bug remains forever. So, hey Monte, hey Felix, nice to have you along, Uche Jr. And Chris. And Consta? Is it Consta? Is it Tino's?
Yes.
Is it Consta, right?
Consta, yeah.
Yeah, Consta.
Konstantinos Konstantiniou.
Okay, agreed. Agreed!
Yes.
Sorry, I apologize my lameness. So we're just gonna have a short wait until the new lobby hops up. That's gonna give me the perfect opportunity to show you the standings. So after 4 rounds, we are at the halfway point of the season. We've got 4 races remaining, and Chris, my fellow Dane, is leading the championship, and he does so by 50 points, a massive margin of a lead indeed. In front of teammate Olympic in second. We've got Joni third there, and he's quite a number of points behind Olympic in his own right. 28 points, that is the difference, as you see. In fourth, it's Quentin from Euromaster, 67 points. Ryan from Vanquish Esports with 56. We've got Flopsy on 55, so a close battle there in the standings for 5th place. And indeed, Race Royce, Cooper, Nick, Finn, Single Filer, and so on. It's a tough place to be there in the midfield battle.
Yeah, I love how I'm still in the midfield battle and I've commentated on half the races.
That's a pretty good job, I have to say there, Finn, indeed. And so, just looking at the calendar with this and 3 more races remaining, mind you, I will not be there to bring you all of these remaining races, I'm afraid, as I have contractual obligations pulling me into work at Simracing World, and to be honest, I am pretty excited about that. So that's okay. Sometimes you have to kill your darlings, and this has really been a darling of mine so far. It's been fantastic. The racing we've seen here been absolutely amazing so far, and I really dread for the news that I've heard about the dirty air being worse on the recent update, because
reducing slipstream strength.
Yeah. Yes, funny enough, because you would imagine that reducing the slipstream strength would make for less. Oh, is this the wrong lobby? Have I joined the wrong lobby? Oh, oops.
Single filer is hosting.
What? Yeah, but I am in singles.
Yeah, you're in that
lobby.
wrong. That's the right one. Yeah.
That's the right one. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, Constance Greek internet kept giving F1 a pick bug.
Oh. Oh, can we get rid of the... Yes. Clean graphics, please. That's what we like here. Oh, Consta. Even Consta won't be... Oh. This is gonna be like Indianapolis 2005.
It literally is that. It's all out of our control. But thank God we have all the drivers here that are very close in pace. So if we're gonna have a 7-car race, this is gonna be a good 7-car race.
It's gonna be a very close one indeed. I think it's gonna be Flopsy and Chris. Mm-hmm. A bit of a...
Oh.
So this is... Oh, so we're having another stock check. Right back. Bye-bye. With the race music there in the background. That's so anticlimactic at this point. Of course, the stock checks being instrumental in securing that we notice whatever bugs are present, I want to say. And squash them with the back of our heels. Yeah, and they seem to arise time and time again like Phoenix the bird.
Do we have everyone off the line? Yes, we do. That's good.
Everyone is indeed off the line of the stock check, and that means that we can commence with qualifying. And I was gonna just mention before the remaining races this season, although they're gonna be really interesting indeed. Suzuka next round, Monza, that's gonna make for some good racing, and Fuji, really one of my personal favorites. But at this point, it's also gonna be hard to see just who is gonna be able to tip the balance of power away from VLX Chris. And it seems more and more like he's Lewising this season.
We have some combinations at the end of the season which we think will spice it up. Monza being one of them. It's always great to come to a finale or end the season with Monza where it's so unpredictable. Anyone can win at Monza. And like a track like Suzuka where most likely the dirty air will be horrific now. But the margin of error is so fine, and if you go off, your race can be ended. So it's really about who's consistent and fast, as we're just about to start the qualifier now.
Finally, I was about to say we've gotten the qualifier underway here with the traditional lobby issues that always seems to plague us when trying to deliver something from the world of GT Sport here, but it is 5 minutes of qualifying, and this time I'm going to be having a look at the entirety of the grid. This time around, though, it seems like everyone's safely out.
Yeah, that's good.
That is indeed very good.
Because before we've had Flopsy with the quick account changes before every qualifying session, because his internet connection has been difficult to connect to, but we now have 7 drivers on track.
So that is exactly what we wanted to see here. And expecting lap times around the 1:25s, the low 25s, perhaps even faster.
Yeah.
We'd see someone dipping into the 24s, although I'm not expecting to see more than the mid 24s, maybe.
Yeah.
Of of course,
with
race pace.
overtake on these long straights,
Yeah, that might be.
24s will probably happen. It's pretty inevitable. Chris always pulls out a brilliant lap time. However, he has only had one pole position, and I thought he had lots more. But it shared I think it's pole position for Quinton, Aura, Single, and Chris. So no one has got 2 poles yet, which is interesting, to say the least.
That's pretty interesting, because that's not how the balance of thing has been when it's come to race pace.
No.
But that does show, like, how much of it has been his, and I'm talking about Chris, of course, but his I want to say his strategical overview has been just on another level throughout this series. Yeah. He has not failed in terms of strategy on one occasion. Let's go on board with single filer here, because I think some of you, at least I wasn't too familiar with this layout before today. I did a couple of laps on it on the pad. It is a very nice track indeed. Very late apex for the sharp left-hander that we were just in before. Of course, completely flat over the left-hand crest kink here. And then braking after the 100-meter marker there. Oh, that's extremely late. Flying into the hairpin here, but he manages to keep it single filer just about. The walls threateningly close here. Up through the right-hander, up to the hill, and then off the throttle, but not on the brakes. Or is that actually flat? How is that flat?
It's close to being, but yes.
A slight lift will be it, but the car will understeer into the barriers if you try to go completely flat here. That final kink, very much flat, and that brings you around for the start-finish line and a lap. Well, not completely a lap, because there is, of course, turn 1. Turn 1 with very much the same complex of corners.
A 24-0.
24 dead for single filer. Olympic. 23-2. That is absolutely amazing. Head and shoulders above the rest of the field here on the first lap.
Ryan, the 23-5 as well.
Oh, he's up there, so it must be a case
Robert with the 23-1.
23-1, that's absolutely amazing. These drivers are putting all their overtake into one flying lap. Is what I expect to see, at least. I'm saying that Olympic still has a bit left. He's in the slipstream of Chris, so they might be trying to tug along Olympic for a hot lap here. At the moment it's Robert, Olympic, Ryan, single filer, Flopsy, Chris, and Nick.
It looks like Olympic's lap is over. He won't have enough time to do any more.
No, he's blown
Robert currently on pole and is on an outlap now, but I don't think he'll make it to the end. And if he does, he'll make it by a few seconds. He's having to use overtake on his outlap to actually make it to the line. That's
suboptimal for him. He's defending from, I think, Ryan. Let's see. He's coming up to the line now. I'd expect Flopsy and Chris to be doing exactly the same.
Chris didn't improve on that lap. Now he does have another lap, so he can go there. Flopsy improves. That's it for him though, 8 tenths. Chris is on a lap.
Chris is indeed on a lap, and I think he is the only one who's that crossing the line. Is that Ryan?
Robert is about to cross the line. 4 seconds. He's so close.
He's so close. He's gonna make it. Nope. He's not.
No, he's not.
He's not. So he just about misses out, and let's just see here. Oh, by the way, I just realized that I need to put in Finn's name in the commentary thing up here. What a shame.
Chris has saved all his overtake for this lap. This might be mega. He's not purple though. He's up, but he is not purple. He needs a godly final sector.
Let's see if a godly final sector is what we shall get from the Dane, the championship leader. He needs to improve. 6th place would not be satisfactory for him. I think 17, 18, oh, it looks to be good.
I think 4th might be best. Maybe. Oh,
second up by 200ths of a second.
Ooh,
And look
All
at
the
this,
time.
the top 3 within 1/100th of a second. That's impressive
Wow.
indeed. And Alpha, yeah, I really feel like that's exactly the kind of vibe I'm getting here as well. The really fast twisting kind of circuit that goes into these huge braking zones once in a while. And then of course, if you take the TT course and kind of condense it down into a miniature format with like just shorten the straights, basically would be kind of this you get. But I really
I think
enjoy.
Sardegna is one of them tracks where it always produces good racing. And in a high downforce car where the flat sections are, well, very fast in these cars, but slipstream, even though it's been reduced since the last update, will still be a huge factor because there's so many straights, so we'll have to see what will happen.
Indeed, we will. So here it is, the grid order. Robert for Vanquish Esports in front of championship leader Chris on row 1, then Olympic and Ryan row 2, Flopsy and Single Filer, and then Nick in 7th in the VSRS 2005 American Grand Prix, sponsored by Polyphony Digital. And they're off! They are off, and it's a good start for Robert this time around. Olympic gets a good run on Chris, but Chris getting ahead. He defends the position, and let's go on board with Nick at the back of affairs. Into turn 1 they go. Oh, and even! Ryan, no, what has he done? That was Ryan. That was Ryan, and it was an absolutely terrible place to make such a mistake. Look at this, he gets away from the line. Okay, I want to say, but is indeed in the process of getting swamped. That's Flopsy on the inside. He goes very hot into turn 1 there on the outside of Olympic. Collects the gravel trap on the outside. Spins around and collects a couple of cars there as well. So that's bad luck for, well, I think that's Nick and Single Filer, who's in 5th and 6th now. Hey, Mew.
New race leader in the form of Robert. Not led the races that he's been in. I think he's only been 2 or 3. But he's looking comfortable on this track.
He is indeed.
To be pulling away from Chris is a big thing.
And he's got the Dane well within the slipstream, but he's also managing the gap at the moment, and it's only 10 laps here for the sprint race. Of course, we've got a reverse grid order for the feature race to come. We've got, by the way, fuel and tires times 4 for the sprint. We've got tires times 7 and fuel times 5 for the feature race, of course, featuring a mandatory set of mediums to be used at some point in the race. Lap 2 it is, Robert leading Chris, Olympic, and Flopsy there with a bit of a gap to close to the Dutchman in front. The two VLX drivers very close to one another. And in behind Flopsy is that Single Filer who's putting on the pressure to the German here. He very much is.
Yeah, Robert using a lot of overtake, and I think he's just broken about a crucial part, which is a second for slipstream. Chris is using some overtake to catch back up into that zone. But a good start from Robert, using overtake to pull this gap out, and he needs that because I think there might be a move coming on for a second here from Olympic.
So from what we can see here at this point, at least early in the race, it doesn't seem like it's too impossible for the drivers to follow along. But then again, you don't really have many corners where the downforce makes too much of a difference. On this track, it very much is straights and slow corners all the way around, with a single or 2 exceptions.
Olympic is using a lot of overtake on Chris now, less than a 10th. Will he dive it into T1? No.
And I feel like I even saw a bit of bump drafting there, perhaps.
Yeah.
We're gonna go and check that out, because as they came on here, just said they were using the overtake, but actually it doesn't seem like that would be too late to bump draft. Indeed, that would not be bump drafting, that would be murdering your teammate.
Hey,
yeah, Ryan.
But I mean, they may have the same tag and the same kind of liveries, but there's no team championship. It's all individual. So, you know, they will be getting their handbags out in this race.
We have seen them. We have seen them sort of working together on occasion, but they're also the top two rivals and contenders. Here's as this is Flopsy and Single Filer going side by side. Single Filer there, what will become the outside, and he manages to just nudge ahead. Beautiful move there from the Dutchman. Let's have another look here. On board we are. So he manages to get the jump into one of the many, I want to say, left-hand hairpins, but he just gets a bit too far off. Flopsy gets a good run, and he's right there, basically, as we see. We're on board with Flopsy here, but Single Filer gets the position before that kink. That is not a place to go too wide. Anyway, Robert, 0.9 of a second, still leading. Still looking good. Chris, Olympic, Single Filer, and Flopsy. It's the top 5 for the time being, although that could very well change. Ryan had good pace early on, but well, what should we say, an unlucky start.
Yeah. Very boring race compared to our other races, to say the least. But I think this is only happening because there's differing levels of overtake right now. You know, when it's on a track where it's high speed, high overtake usage. When these people run out, they're going to be sitting ducks on the straight, and we've seen this so many times with Olympic Chris, especially at Spa. In both races, he used too much overtake, and Chris just breezed past. As Olympic just makes a mistake there into the final sector. He's got dirty tires, and he's gone very wide.
It's a double whammy for Olympic. Let's have another look here, because really nice having that second set of eyes on the race. So he goes wide there, and then needing more grip to both brake and get the car turned around, just about manages to do so, but he's well out of the slipstream of Chris. He's well into the claws of Single Filer instead. Half a second separating the two Dutchmen. And the question is if Single Filer can get a good run and do what the musical youth did back in 1982 and pass the Dutchie on the left-hand side.
Oh, wow. To be fair, that is a great song. I'm not even gonna dispute that. He's back onto the racetrack though, not in the musical world. Robert has a third of Chris's overtake. So Chris keeping the kind of same-ish gap, going up a bit or losing a bit every now and then. It's staying around a second. He's lost quite a bit of time this lap, but he has that advantage on overtake compared to pretty much everyone in the field. So will he be saving it for his last lap, hot lap, that we've seen him do in this series before? But Robert is not someone to let a move slide. He will defend until the last possible corner.
But I think Chris is just chipping away at the overtake now, but using it where it matters the most. Look at that. He just closed half a second on the start-finish straight alone.
Yeah, I think he's mastered where to use this overtake. He's using a lot less, but making it more effective. Whereas I feel like Robert is using a lot, and it's not really gaining him the advantage.
Curse of the Commentator has just struck again immediately as we clip to Single Filer. He goes wide there on the exit of that S-bend. The fast left entrance to the slow right-hander early on the track in the first sector. He went off, and he didn't lose that much. Seems he's comparatively okay. Still just a second off on Olympic, but he was right on the tail of Olympic in front there. But he does have a lot more overtake left, Single Filer. So my prophecy from earlier could indeed still come true, which I would of course hope for it to do, because I'd love for that to pay off into something now. The gap from Robert to Chris, 1.2 seconds. And Hey Nico, good to have you along. Ryan is racing, although whether he's concentrating on the racing, that is a very different question indeed.
Yeah. No slipstream is going to be difficult on a track like this, where it just really it can make or break a race, and he broke it at T1.
I was referring to the fact that he's pretty active in our chat. As active as any other for today. So yeah. So Robert, 1.2 seconds, very much status quo, and that is exactly going to the plan that you mentioned earlier on, Finn. How Chris likes to run his races, how he likes to keep a leash on the leader to keep things under control, and then to settle things in the last couple of laps. It seems to be a very viable strategy indeed in these Super Formula 19 cars.
Yeah, Robert with the kind of different driving style, he likes to thrash it everywhere. We've seen Chris how smooth he is in inputs with the car, and it works out well for him. But I think we've not seen a challenge to Chris in a like outright pace this far into a sprint race. As far as I can imagine. That might be commentating.
Here comes single filer. He didn't make it through because he was on the wrong side of Olympic, of course, but here he comes on the left-hand side indeed. Oh, that's not gonna be this time around, but he knows exactly what he has to do here, single filer. He's well aware, and he's trying to pull it off, I have to say. And good work here from Olympic to defend the position. Look at here, on board we are with the, I was about to say the Dutchman, that would go for both of them. It is single filer here. Manages not to go off where he went off last time there on that exit. We have 2.5 laps left to go at this moment, and look at this, it's very much come together at the head of affairs. 0.5 of a second. Oh, it's less than 0.4 because Robert did not get a good run through that corner, and that means Chris is so much within the slipstream now that he'll get a very strong tow along.
Chris preparing for that the fast left by going into the dirt. That's how far he went to the right there. But that final corner exit is so crucial, and he seems like Robert is doing that well.
So onto the penultimate lap of the sprint race, and well, we've got two very close battles going on at the moment.
Here we go.
And they're both for top positions here. Chris on the outside, over the crest into turn 1. Robert
in the inside.
As you said, Finn, he's defending it. He's defending it with everything he got. Chris is going to be on the outside yet again. Olympic and single filers battling on it. Oh, we're going to have a look here because Robert catches the curb. And he just about keeps that under control, but Chris takes the lead there. Very nice indeed. But what a save from Robert. That really caught me off because that was a huge squirm for his car. I think he might have just touched the grass as well. Chris is gonna be a hard man to beat now, as single filer and Olympic are looking more on level terms in terms of how much overtake they've got left. Single filer has not managed to really make anything of the advantage. And now Chris, of course...
It's not over though, because this stream looks very, very strong. And I wasn't expecting it to be this strong. But Robert is still keeping with Chris, and Chris has so much more overtake than him.
Out they come from the final corner, but Chris gets the run. It's not really the final corner. It depends whether or not you count... Oh, this is very much a corner. Actually, no kink shaming here.
Yeah, but this is the final lap battle we wanted to see
the
for a
final
long
lap?
time.
Yes, it is indeed, and it is coming together as Robert is now
around the outside.
Put to the outside. He's trying for it, but he's getting the squeeze, and they make a slight bit of contact. And behind, single filer's gone past.
Wow. Chris ultra defensive into that.
Both of them out of slipstream here, and it's just a straight line overtake for single filer. And he's now on a purple lap with no overtake use. That's actually pretty impressive there. Chris defending the lead. Half a second down to Robert. Single
He's using
filer.
all that overtake now.
But he doesn't have that much more left as well.
Oh, very late on the brakes there for Robert. He
Look
is right there.
That I want to have a second look at that because he actually came flying into that corner. He braked so late. And he manages to actually turn in the car, get it on the apex. That's very impressive indeed here. Final chance. This time around, he gets it on the inside. Robert, he's going to take the win, I think, here. But it's going to go to the line. It can still go to Chris.
He has overtake. He has overtake to use. He needs to use it now. He's
Here comes Chris.
Chris is side by side. He's going to have
for the line. They're side by side. This is a sprint for the line now. What's it going to be?
Robert, no, Chris.
Chris takes it.
Oh. Wow.
With single filer in third place. Let us have a quick second look at that.
I think they finished at the exact same time. There's no
We're not
gap
even
between
because they all finished, so we could.
2,000.
2,000ths of a second separating Robert and VLX Chris here in the sprint race. That is one of the closest race finishes, if not the closest, that I have ever seen on this channel. That is absolutely insane. What? Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, when you deploy the overtake first, you get that initial boost. Robert left it too late, and Chris just got such a good run there. Wow, I thought Robert had that in the bag because he broke so late into the hairpin. I think he even caught himself by surprise, but he made it work.
Yeah, Mitchell, that's a good question. A very exciting race finish is what you just walked into. That was absolutely insane. And for once, nobody ran out of fuel.
Yeah.
Let's see if we're as lucky for the feature race, which we will have up in not too long. Finn, I can't remember, do you usually throw up a new lobby for the feature race?
No. The same lobby.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, well, Ryan starting on pole. Will he go softs or mediums?
That's a very good question, actually, because we have seen some interesting strategies deployed in terms of these mediums and how to get the best of them. I want to say, get rid of them the quickest. I think on more than one occasion we've seen Chris actually pit on what was basically lap 1 or 2, or basically as early as it would allow him to do, and like with the rest of the race taken into consideration and the sets of softs, and to just get rid of those mediums as quickly as possible and didn't just run the soft afterwards. Seemed to be a very viable strategy, at least in my eyes. He's put in some good results, but it is of course also down to both pace and consistency that follows with those exact things. We've got a short warm-up here before the feature race. 27 laps this time around, mind you. Tire wear at... that was an interesting place for the car to be. Tire wear times 7, fuel times 5 for these 27 laps here. So expecting a 2-stop strategy here?
Yeah, for sure. I think it'll be very interesting to watch this because Ryan, we know, had the pace. He got unlucky at T1. What tyre he goes with, he might be the bottleneck in the field and might just drag all them medium runners with him with the slipstream.
Yeah.
But if he can pull enough out of the corners and break that slipstream, the strategy might really work for him in this.
It's a very good point, and we will see. Surely we're gonna be wiser as we get the racing underway in not too long. Yeah, Robert.
So the scrap at the back, Robert and Chris, into T1. This might get spicy in this race.
Very much so. And very true indeed, Felix. One hell of a show on those final couple of laps from a 7-man race.
Yeah.
And somehow, even with only 7 drivers in a race, this series doesn't fail on delivering here. Race direction tells us that we're 3 minutes away from the start of the feature race. So a perfect time now for you lads if you need to visit the tiny house. Or perhaps the kitchen, the food chamber, the snacks chamber. That's also a good place to visit. Or maybe both. Remember to wash your hands though. With that said,
stay at home.
with that said, we've got Lorenzi, who's now joined us for this race.
Yep.
It was really nice to see. We're glad to see Lorenzi on the grid. It gives us 8 cars at least, and the impression of a full race, because usually when watching the top 8, you wouldn't see anything else. So that's kind of the cutoff point, right? Flopsy?
Yeah, we can only apologise for the lack of drivers today. It's completely out of our control. Last minute.
Yeah. So Finn, take because I'm not sure. Like, take us through what actually happened with the GT Sport over the last week here.
So this series was 3 days away from having the other round, which was last week. But obviously the GT Sport update came along and reduced slipstream strength, which meant that dirty air was not cancelled out by slipstream anymore. So dirty air effect on high cornering tracks is a lot more harsh and a lot more prominent than it was before. So we had to skip a week and test, which we did, and we found that running at 90% power and 100% weight was the best way to do it for this series. Previously, we have reduced the weight now from 120 to 100 because they ruined that, because that's now more understeery than less effective. And that has obviously meant that people don't like driving in high downforce cars, or maybe today haven't been able to join because of other commitments, real life. So we have a small number, we can't even deny that, of drivers, but we have to keep going. It's not our fault, it's what PD want to do for the community, but we'll keep going and we'll keep battling this to make the best racing series we can.
What a big lunch there from Olympic. Is that himself, and is that Lorenzi going at it? I think it is. No, it's not.
Ryan.
It's Ryan. Ah.
Ryan.
Oh,
free wide. Escape. Ooh. This is a very good escape. Oh, Flopsy.
No, don't do that, guys. Keep it clean.
Oh, Olympic. Olympic demonstrating what Ryan did at T1 last race.
Yeah, that didn't last long for Ryan, the challenge.
I must say though, I props to Felix for that Dutch livery, because all season I think it is the nicest livery we have on the grid. That orange, there's something about orange in an open wheel car. It just looks so good. It's so clean.
It certainly has hints of McLaren, but it's very Dutch. You're never in doubt that it's Dutch.
Yeah.
And once again, Felix, amazing liveries. It's not the first time that Felix has created some excellent work of ours that rolls around virtually on 4 wheels. So
if there was a drinking game for the amount of times you praised him, you would be dead.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I've given my fair share of praise to Felix for his livery works. He's up there.
Certainly. Race 2 underway.
I'm looking forward to reading Ryan's dissertation. Let's be sure to clip it and post it in its full form when he's done with it. Anyway, race order, grid order here. Ryan, Flopsy, Nick, Olympic. And then it's single filer Robert, Chris. And then at the end, Lorenzi, who wasn't racing in the sprint race. And with that said, let us get the feature race underway.
First driver on the grid with mediums is Nick, as we're preparing for the start.
Yep, and that's very much true. And here they are off from the line. Ryan gets a good start here. Flopsy.
Robert with an excellent start, up into 4th already.
Up into 4th, and he's got the run up the outside of Olympic here, who's gonna shut the door, and he gets the shot there. And that's from single filer on the inside. There's a bit of contact, and Robert is in the gravel trap.
Oh.
That is such a shame to see, because he got an excellent run. As you said, he was leading it, but he got just shoved out, and then I think it's a double whammy for him. That contact is twofold. I don't think single filer really could do much to avoid it. There just wasn't any space. Hopefully he's not lost too much time there, Robert. Ryan, though...
With that pace, he is not out of it. Ryan, broken slipstream already to Flopsy. What
That's
a start
impressive.
this has been.
Impressive stuff from Ryan. Single filer 3rd, Olympic in 4th.
Oh, single with the savage. Flopsy and Olympic goes deep into the other corner. Wow, these guys are out for blood today.
Oh, and they make contact as well, but he doesn't get past
single
it.
hits. Oh, Olympic hit the wall there. As Chris is behind. Robert and Lauren. Robert has damage.
Robert has damage again.
So does Lorenzi. He has double damage.
Here. Where did that come from? I think Lorenzi had been...
Oh, Nick diving into the pits.
Oh,
Same with
look at the...
Lorenzi.
Oh, my word. So... Robert has a huge run on Lorenzi. He comes across and collects them both basically there. And here comes...
Something's happened to Flopsy, and same for Single. Flopsy and Single are just...
They were dropping places. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
The question is exactly what
Flopsy
happened there.
going wide as well.
Oh! Flopsy with the turnaround there. 360 degrees. Spice indeed, Ethan. It has been spicy racing so far. And it has not been disappointing here. We're on lap 2 of the feature race. And it's been close already here. Flopsy in 4th position. Robert and single filer 5th and 6th. Chris is up. Chris is up in 3rd place already.
Look at the gap between 1st and 2nd.
Oh, that is a massive advantage here. Ryan, 4.2 seconds. And it doesn't look to me as if he's really tapped too much into his overtake. Perhaps, Finn, you can wisen us up on that account?
He has the same usage as Olympic.
That's the same usage as Olympic, but a 4-second lead. That's rather interesting. It seems like it's gonna have to come down to pace or strategy, of course, for the VLX drivers. But how much are they gonna be battling within one another here? Olympic, Chris. Oh, Olympic with a big moment there in between the two corners.
So Olympic and Chris are on the same tyre, so will they be doing the same strategy? Olympic is the leading VLX car. Oh, as he hits the wall. That's a big contact there. He's bleeding time to Chris now.
Okay, so Ryan is on the softs here early on. That, of course, explains his gap of 4.4 seconds. And it'll be interesting to see if the VLX drivers are going with the same strategy as we've been seeing for the rest of the season, which is
Ryan
bit early.
can go long here on the soft tyres. He's lapping a second faster, or around 6/10 faster than Olympic. On the first lap, he's pulled around 8/10 on this lap. He is flying, and these soft tyres will last a long time. He will have to only pit for fuel, as he does a 25.3. Chris and Olympic in.
Yeah, so there it is, the early pit stop to get rid of the mediums. The question is there even fuel coming in? Yes, there is as well, though it's not a lot.
Single filer, I think pitted. Has he pitted on lap 2? I think he did. And I think he's got rid of the mediums onto the softs. I don't know if that's right. That might be a glitch on the timing of my game. As he goes wide there. Oof.
I don't. Well, an outlap of 134, would that make sense? I guess it would.
A 31 the next lap as well. That's what I thought. Interesting.
Interesting indeed, yeah. Let's see exactly how these things develop here. A single filer has a big old look at Robert. Still Ryan in the lead, but actually that was actually Flopsy having a big old look at single filer. That's the battle going on at the moment. Flopsy here in 4th place. Ryan now with a massive 8-second advantage down to Robert. It's Nick now 5th, Chris 6th, Olympic in 7th place, and Lorenzi in 8th. But he's right on the tail of the Dutchman here, and
Lorenzi.
He goes for the move up the inside here on the final hairpin. And does he get the run? They're too wide.
He does. He's going to have the outside run, but it doesn't really matter because it can go side by side. Oh, he just comes ahead of him.
Squeezes ahead. Squeezes ahead indeed. Nice one there. Now the question is Olympic gonna get back here at him? Oh, he's on the outside. He isn't really too concerned with that, but I think he gets a bad run, and Olympic might have the opportunity here as they touch wheels. And Olympic
is going to have the inside, but the outside line is far superior for that turn.
Yeah, it needs to be the inside line for that corner. It is not for Olympic.
So I think Lorenzi pitted lap 1. So he has got the mediums out of the way, I think.
Yes.
Because he had a 146. So he's actually battling for the lead, which is kind of weird to think because he was in last with damage. But
well, you would expect them to be a few seconds down on Ryan, but indeed they would be in that lead battle contention. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Ryan with the fastest lap of the race so far, 125.3. He's slightly down on that.
He's consistent. He's very consistent with his lap times.
Here, keeping it in the 25s, an 8.4 second advantage here to Robert, who's also on the softs but has not been in yet. Same goes for Single Filer and Flopsy, and Nick for that sake, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And so the bottom 3 at the moment having been in, the rest have not.
I know, it's weird because I feel like there was several people that pitted lap 1, but I can't remember who they were. So it's...
Oh, there were a couple of people. It could be Nick. Lorenzi was one of them.
He did a 144 on his first lap, so there's a possibility.
I think that's very much a possibility, yes.
And he has more fuel than... Oh, no, he doesn't. He has just about... just a little bit less than Chris. But he has a 3.6 second gap. So if they're running on the same strategy, this is going to mean that Lorenzi from last is now in the... Oh, you say,
Flopsy,
who's...
it's Flopsy who collects the wall on the outside of... the kink actually collects the wall on the inside and then the outside, so that's going to cost a bit of time.
Wow.
A bit of damage, but damage set to light here, so it's not...
He's pitting now.
No catastrophe, but he does come into the pits, but he might just think that it's a good time to get it done anyways.
Yeah.
Ryan in the lead.
Wore off. Yeah, that gap is staying the same between first and second. Robert and Ryan seem to be the same kind of pace. Single has caught up a lot to Robert that lap, and he did a 25.2 on them soft tyres, and they look old, them tyres as well. He's purple again. I think this might be our closest battle. No, our closest battle is 6th and 5th, which is the 2 VLX cars. Chris now ahead of Olympic. So, I don't know what's happened on track.
I think he did that on the pit stops. He came out ahead.
Ah.
They've made short work of Flopsy due to the pit stop as well. They're 3.2 seconds down on Nick, though.
Flopsy has fueled all the way to the top, so that's why he's so far at the back. But does that mean that he's settling for one less pit stop? Maybe going longer than everyone else?
That's a good question. Ben, how many laps would you expect the drivers to be able to do on a tank full?
On a tank, probably around 9, maybe 10.
That is exactly what Soda calls as well in chat, just to get your opinion on it. But that's what we're looking at, a fuel window of 9 to 10 laps. And a tire window of around the same, I'd expect, for the softs. Maybe even a little bit more.
Yeah.
But of course,
so
tire wear is a bit more dynamic here. Yeah, sorry.
Chris is 17 seconds off of Ryan, so we don't know what the pit loss is. I think it is quite a lot. Maybe like 15 seconds. Oh, a single has got past Robert.
Oh, he has indeed. See if we can just catch that. We cannot. Seems I think it had been into turn 1, perhaps even on the straight there on the start-finish straight.
Yeah. Chris pumping in the first sub 25. He's now done a 24.9. 2/10 faster than Single, but Single's on them old tyres and he's making them work. This might be a pit stop window soon for the soft runners, though. Or are they just eking it out until the fuel goes? Because I think the soft tyres, they don't seem to have that big of a drop-off.
Yeah, it's a good point. It is a very good point that you might just try to see if you can run the car as light as possible, not to lose time on that account. It seems to me that the VLX drivers are still in a pretty good position. Olympic has managed to come back at Chris, and what we're not really having into the consideration as well is just how much overtake do the different drivers have left in their systems. Well, Ryan...
Yeah, so Chris has around a quarter more overtake than Olympic. But Olympic just used that to get back in the slipstream a bit more, just hang on to Chris, kind of use his pace. As Olympic last lap did a 24.4, which is a very fast lap.
But
really he is pushing.
Indeed. Huge pace from Olympic at the moment.
Yeah, that was a whole second faster than Ryan on that lap. And now we're getting into the red as Ryan pits.
Ryan in here as we're a third of the way into the race. It's going to be interesting to see how much fuel goes.
He gave me a heart attack. You need to hit the pit. Oh, that was very late going into the pit lane there from Single. But Robert actually has enough fuel to probably do another 2 laps, or maybe 1. So he's staying out.
Robert, is he now the only one who has yet to pit? Nick does not have a lot of fuel left in the car, but of course Chris and Olympic would be in the same kind of situation now here. As Single exits with a brim tank, indeed. That is... Oh,
Lorenzi's round. T1.
Oh, yes.
Oh, he's hit Single Filer, the ghosting system, doing absolute wonders in GT Sport.
Oh, Lorenzi in a spot of bother here, getting going in. Look at this, he turns it right into the wall. And then, manages to spin it again onto the gravel there. Oh, and he actually does collect Single Filer.
Single still has front damage, and he is losing tenths on the straight. It's now just gone. Flopsy is now within a second of Single. That is not what you want to have coming out of the pit lane.
That is poor timing for Single Filer indeed, as Robert now leads by 4.7 seconds. in front of Nick. And it'll be interesting to see how the standings actually are.
Olympic pits.
So to say here, Olympic in. Oh, that's interesting.
He can undercut his teammate here.
I was just about to say a lap earlier than Chris, running in for the undercut.
Wow, yeah, you can see the tyres have dropped off. He went from his fastest of a 24.4 to a 24.9. Still very good pace, but that 5/10 drop off. Oh, he's come out behind Single and Flopsy.
Oh,
wow.
My.
Okay.
He went long on that stop as well for fuel. You have to wonder.
Fuel is very harsh on this race.
Yeah.
The multiplier is very high. We could be seeing 3 or 4 stops if people are going very aggressive. I don't even know what the strategy is. So many people are in different strategies right now.
Yeah, that seems like there is not a meta at the moment. There really hasn't been.
Ryan's on the mediums now, and he is 7 seconds behind Chris. He is 13 seconds ahead of Single, who I don't think has put on the mediums yet. Will Ryan pit again? Robert, wow, coming in with 0%.
Yeah, I was just gonna see if he actually ran out of fuel, but doesn't look like it to me, I think.
Chris with 1 as well. So Robert has managed to basically do 1 whole pit stop less than Chris, and he is ahead of him now. So that strategy's worked. Ryan will regain his lead.
Oh yeah, but he goes on to the mediums now.
Mediums, though. Yeah.
So that might be the difference.
Ahead of Chris. Crucially ahead of Chris.
See, Chrissy rejoins. Oh, right, and oh, here comes Olympic. Oh, Olympic's gonna be passed as well. The undercut has worked, and Chris is now 7th.
Yeah.
Interesting indeed, and this is not gonna be the last stop of the VLX machines.
No, I think there'll be quite a few more.
Yeah, 1 or 2 might even be the case here. Ryan now leads by 5.3 seconds. Nick 2nd, Robert 3rd. Both of them for Vanquish Esports. For THR, it's Flopsy in 4th, and then it's Single Filer, Olympic, and Chris. We've had a retirement for Ryan, coffin dance for him. That's that answer, Soda.
This is very interesting. I think Nick pitted for fuel, but not tyres.
Oh, it's not Ryan who is it. It's Lorenzi, of course.
Lorenzi, yes.
Lorenzi, what am I saying? Ryan's leading the race.
Yeah.
Nice little Dirtenism there. There's nothing wrong with that car, except it's on fire.
Yeah, but Nick, with so much more fuel, but yet he has worn tyres, so he didn't change them in the pit lane. Which is interesting strategy, because actually if there isn't that much of a difference between fresh and old tyres, why change them? Why cost that time? And so Nick is now, wow, I mean, he's around 10 seconds ahead of Chris. And he only has a little bit less fuel, but them tyres are going to be very, very old.
Yeah, indeed. Good question, Felix. I think this is going to be, this could come all together in the final couple of laps here, because the field is spread apart by around 15 seconds at this point. But with varying strategies, and with some of the front-running cars now on the medium tires, the question is, are they going to be having short stints on the mediums, or are they going to be running them for as long as possible? You could probably argue that the time loss on a track like this would be relatively less than a track with more high-speed, high-downforce corners.
For sure.
Where the speed carrot is a bit different.
Ryan has been on the mediums for a lot longer than everyone else, and I think his theory behind it is if you pit 1 lap, you're basically having to do 2 more stops because of the fuel consumption. So him eking out this fuel, making less stops, will hopefully make him to the end, and the gap isn't really coming down from him and Nick. So Nick with them old tyres, and Rob is right behind him now. Rob at 3/10 behind Nick.
Interesting indeed. And single file, 2 tenths behind Flopsy. So yet again, we have 2 interesting battles going down here. For second and third, and for fourth and fifth place at the moment, with the vanquish duo of Nick and Robert battling for second. This is THR Flopsy. And the third vanquish car of single filer in the battle for fourth place. And I smell a move coming up here from single filer. And is it just a look? No, yeah, it's just a look. Even.
Yeah, Flopsy with a lot less fuel than single filer. He's less than a quarter now on fuel, Flopsy. He'll be in the next 2 laps for sure. Single with that half a tank. Seeming to be doing quite good lap times. But Olympic has caught all the way up to single and has a 2-second gap to his teammate. We've not seen this before. We've not seen this kind of Chris in a race. Considering they're on the same tyres, the same fuel, the same strategy, Olympic looks faster.
It's a very good call there, I think. Yeah. 2.1 seconds. You have to wonder, did Chris make a mistake there in that last lap?
I think his lap 12 he made a mistake. He did a 27.5, which is very slow.
That's, yeah, I was about to say that's slower than the fastest lap I put in when I did my 10 laps of learning Saint Croix. So that says a lot. I think here, Ryan, but it's down by now to 3 seconds. You did say he was looking to go long on the mediums to save himself that extra stop, but he's bleeding the time away right now. How is the overtake situation at the moment, Flynn?
He has just over a quarter overtake left, which is a quarter less than Nick behind him.
So Nick in prime position, given that he has been on the mediums already. He's on the softs now. He is gaining on teammate Ryan. He's got a lot more overtake left in the system, but seeing how they both have a pit stop left to make, a set of softs to run in the final stint, this could be very close indeed.
Also a VQS 1, 2, 3, 4, I've just realised.
That could be on the boards indeed here if the single filer can get past Olympic, but he's very
Olympic
close indeed.
Just got past him.
Did Olympic just go past the other way around? Yes, he actually did. He actually did. And he did pass the Dutchie on the left-hand side. They're coming into turn 1.
Olympic is flying. He's been low 25s, high 24s. No one's done that kind of pace yet. And he's already pulled away from single and it's on a straight.
He is absolutely flying here at the moment. Indeed, the gap from Olympic to Ryan is down to 8.1 seconds, yeah. But then again, when they pitted in the first time, that gap was, what, 4 seconds? So you'd have to say, oh, and Olympic goes off! Oh, and he collects single filer, who just, I don't know how single filer managed to keep that thing alive in that situation here. We're on board with Olympic, who I think just catches the inside. Yes, that is so easy to do it. It's the second time he's done it in this race. That's very much true here. Side by side on the straight is being called, and we're going to immediately here. Single filer Olympic, they've had their fair share of battling going on in the sprint race. And now in the feature race, as we are 2/3, more or less 2/3 of the way through here. Olympic holds on to that one.
This is going to definitely come down to the wire on these last few laps.
Look at this. Ryan has all but thrown away his advantage. It's down to 7/10 of a second. That last lap for Ryan, 1:26.9.
And crucially, Robert and Ryan are on the same tyre. Robert has done a 25.2 on a medium tyre.
He's 25.2 on a fresh medium tyre.
He's going to dive Ryan. No, he's holding it back.
I think he
They're
knows
both gonna
Ryan
have
will
to pit this lap.
Ryan.
They might both have to pit. If Robert might just go on and just have enough. Yeah, they're both pitting. Right behind each other as well. Robert will jump Ryan in the pit lane because of his fuel. Wow. Okay. Who is provisionally in the race lead? I genuinely don't know any.
Might be Olympic, to be honest. Because it's
It
a
might be Robert.
long pit stop. Ryan and Robert, they're
Olympic's
still
pitting next lap.
fueling. Yes, but I believe they might... Oh, they're pitting next lap. So the question is... I think they've nailed it here with 9 laps, but they might have to pit a bit less here. And look at this, the gap from Ryan and Robert up to Olympic, 20 seconds. It's a huge gap. They just came off the mediums. They're onto the softs now. We'd expect Olympic and Single Filer to be running a good pace here. And how did Single Filer get involved with this battle all of a sudden? Oh yeah, he was of course...
also has much more fuel there than Olympic.
So that's going to be interesting. Single Filer is going to be looking at another stop, but it might be considerably shorter than Olympics then, and that might gain him more than the 0.8 of a second he's behind at the moment. And Chris, he's... All of a sudden he was looking at... Yet again, I feel like Chris, he's done this several times this season, looking out of it. At points and parts of the race where you think, this is not going to be Chris's day. He's at the lower mid-pack of the field, you know, with 2/3 of the race gone, and then all of a sudden, a couple of pit stops later, a couple of laps later, the field gets shuffled through, and all of a sudden he's at the front of the field.
See, I think this race is different because Olympic has been faster on every lap since the start of this race compared to Chris, and they have been on similar strategies. I think Chris has definitely saved a lot more fuel, so whether he's saving himself, it's a lot more over to take as well.
And that is exactly it, because with that extra fuel, that means his final pit stop is going to be a lot shorter. And look at this now, Chris. Clean air up ahead. He's just put in a purple first sector. This is beginning to get more and more interesting here into the final third of this race. And I think the call that was made earlier on, that it is going to come together in the final part, it's looking to be very, very true indeed. Chris is now really beginning to catch up quickly on Single Filer here. Chris, whose last lap was a 25-1, by the way, certainly not bad at all.
They're both pitting this lap. Single has literally no fuel. I think he's just about to run out.
That's probably why...
he's just out now.
Did he actually manage?
Run out. Yeah,
he managed to run out. He managed to run out and coast into the pit lane without even losing the lead. Well timed, Single Filer.
Oh wow!
And let's see where they exit.
24.8 on his lap as well. That.
Here's Nick. He's gonna overtake both of those cars in the pits. Gonna take over the race lead. Robert. There out goes Single Filer behind Ryan, and then Chris, and then Olympic, but just and only just Chris has managed to pull off the overcut on Olympic. He's gonna have to defend heavily here.
They're all on similar fuel. They are all now on similar fuel. This is literally the top 6. This is to the end. This is the battle now. Fresh tyres versus old tyres. Flopsy's just about out of it. He has a lot less fuel than everyone else. But the top 6 all have similar fuel, so that must mean that they're all going to the end.
For sure here, with 8 laps remaining, this is going to be within the reaches of one stint. And at the moment, Nick leads by around 2.5 seconds to Robert, with Ryan third and Single Filer fourth. So at the moment, it is actually that Vanquish 1, 2, 3, 4. But 2 sharks coming up here as Olympic has a massive moment there.
Yeah. Now, Single, Chris, Olympic, the 3 like heavyweights of the series, you must say. We're expecting a season-long battle after seeing the test race with these three people. We haven't seen it yet, but Chris now on the inside of... Will we see this battle?
Just to remind you of the standings there, and Chris goes... Oh, Olympic tries to follow on through. That is a... Oh, so Chris with a nice move there.
Has a lot left. And he is saving this. He's on the medium tyres. Oh no, single.
But hasn't he... Oh, and he lets Olympic go there as well. What happened? Oh, and he's...
Oh. That was very weird. That looked... Oh. I don't know what just happened.
No, I'm left pretty speechless. They made a bit of contact there. I don't know what happened here, because to me that looked very strange, the way that the car... Excuse me. The way, I'm sorry, the way the car went slow all of a sudden, and that made very little sense. Except, of course, it could have been... It's not a disconnect. He's still here.
Yeah, I don't know what that was, because he immediately slowed on the apex, actually. So he was braking. Maybe a hardware issue, maybe? I don't know. It's very weird.
But the thing is, Consta, the disconnect, I don't think that was really that plausible, because he is still...
He's still here.
He's still here. But a hardware issue, that might be... That could be... We'll have to hear it from the man himself at some point here, as we are nearing the final 5 laps of racing. It's been sort of attritional still, though. 2.1 seconds now, the advantage for Nick. Down to Robert here.
So Nick with that 2-second gap, that hasn't really come down as much. Ryan as well, setting kind of average pace, kind of equaling the pace with Nick. Robert looks to be in a good position here. He looks to be the fastest out of the top 3. And I just realised Flopsy's lap is very good, and he's caught up already. Oh, he's got to pit again. So that's some low fuel, new tyre laps from Flopsy.
Oh yeah, he's gone for the fastest lap, and he said it. 1:24.1.
Yeah, very good lap.
But it is indeed all coming together. Nick is not on a flying pace. Robert is slowly gaining. Ryan is probably going to be the human shield, the running roadblock, if you will, for the 2 VQS drivers up ahead right now. There might not be a team strategy behind it, but it's certainly going to be the way things are playing out at the moment here. And notice that the light on Ryan's car has shut off, and that means that there is no more overtake left. And Chris is coming here, he's on the outside. That means he's on the inside for the following corner. No, he's not, because they were at the different point of the track than I just remembered here, but he has overtake.
He's just going to pass him.
He's just going to sail past there on the long straight. Good run for Olympic.
Also there.
Good run indeed, but he's too far back. I don't see that happening here. No.
You say that, but he just caught 3/10 in the braking.
Never say never is what they say, and that surely was close here for Olympic. In the battle for 3rd place now, Chris, who's made a mess of that VQS 1, 2, 3 and broken that order. It was looking so good though for the Vanquish boys. Now Ryan is going to be doing his best to be hanging on here. Nick now by 1.2 seconds trying to put Robert up the slipstream.
Wow. That's such a big gap though. 4.8 seconds. They've got that advantage over Chris, and they are all going to the end. Fresh tyres though, with the 2 VLX boys. Was that Ryan coming back at Chris then? I think Ryan just came back at Chris then. No overtake. Pure slipstream. Just tried to overtake Chris. So this is not over. This certainly isn't over. Chris has no slipstream. He can defend with overtake, but slipstream is ultimately the stronger factor. but wow, you got to say that Olympic's going to pass Ryan down this straight.
Here it comes, Olympic. Flopsy's, of course, far behind, but the Olympic on the tail of Ryan here as he comes into the hairpin. There is the move from Olympic. It had to be done. It had to be made. And done and dusted it is. Olympic goes past.
Crucially now, though, that gap has opened up slightly to Chris.
Yeah, Chris has a good run on the guys ahead now, but the gap to Nick is
the same.
Still 5.5 seconds.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Robert is closing and he looks comfortable. He did a 24.8 on lap 23 and a 25 flat.
Yeah, he's gaining on Chris on the final lap there.
Yeah, he is gaining on Chris. So we've seen Robert's pace. You know, he lost out of the race win there. Oh, Nick.
Huge moment for Nick. Let's see that again on board. We are with the check.
He hit 2 curbs there and didn't even seem to lose that much time.
And then another one again. Yeah, that's true. But Robert now well within the slipstream. 1.1 seconds. I think they are close to one another in their overtake levels. And looking behind. If they look far enough back, they can just see the car of VLX Chris. It's got a lot of air to close in front. Given
Chris
that
has around double the overtake of the top 2. But by the time he uses that overtake, I don't think he'll be close enough. Don't think it will really cancel out. He needs to catch on pure pace, and Robert just has the slipstream to just pump in good lap times every time.
This is very interesting indeed, because he still has Olympic and Ryan to contend with as well. And Olympic could be there on the final couple of laps if he has the slipstream to...
2 more racing laps.
2 more racing laps indeed. The penultimate lap it is. Hey Fons, good to have you along, mate. Oh, it's half a second between Nick and Robert now. On board we are with the leader here, as Robert is the guy to have a moment. They're pushing it here at 25.2, I think it was, on the last lap for Nick. 25.3 for Robert. So it's closing in here now.
Yeah, Robert seems to struggle out of that turn on the straight, which he can't keep doing. This straight lends itself so well into such a good overtaking opportunity, which is this hairpin we're just going through now. He's 5/10 back. He needs to have a good S section here to set himself up for the final lap.
It does seem like Chris is going to have to settle for 3rd at best, because he's still under pressure from Olympic.
Yeah. However, he did catch a 2nd that last lap. So he definitely was catching. I think he's just run out of laps.
It's really up the pace, but he will run out of laps indeed. Oh, look at this, Nick, Robert, 0.3 of a second here as they come up towards the start-finish line to start the final lap of racing here from Sardegna. It's been fantastic so far. We might not have had so many cars on the grid, but the racing has been A-grade nonetheless. Into turn 1 they come.
I think Nick's made a mistake there. He's just used all of his overtake in defending on that straight, and Robert's going to have slipstream, overtake. He's going to have all the treats for an overtake on this back straight. He needs
does
to
not get the run
section.
here. He needs 2. No. He loses out 0.2 of a second through that S section and into the second section, sector 2, and he loses out yet again. Could this be it? I think
that was just dirty air.
That does look. That certainly looks like it is. 0.7 of a second as they come into the hairpin here, and Chris all the while. He's just gonna run out of road. I think he's gonna keep Olympic behind. That's for certain.
He's gonna be close. He needs to get a really good run here.
Oh, as Robert has a huge moment, kicks it onto the grass, into the final corner they come. This is going to be down to the overtake. Let's go on, but with the wank cam here for Nick. 0.6 of a second. I cannot see this going up. He's still got the overtake. He does have a big amount of overspeed. Look at this. Oh, he runs out. He's run out of fuel. And it's gonna be Nick for Vanquish Esports taking the checkered flag. What a finale yet again. Wow. I think Robert, with the fuel to go to the line, he could have made that. I'm not...
VQS 1-2.
But a VQS 1-2 and the first to break the VLX dominance of this series.
Yeah.
The first feature race that Chris has not won.
Yeah.
Olympic 4th, Ryan 5th, and Flapsy is gonna finish in 6th place.
Wow, give that
Nick.
2 more laps. I mean, that would have been sketchy because Chris was 1.3 seconds. He did a 24-1 on that final lap, did Chris? That is insane pace, but it's just too late. Them mistakes earlier on, he costs him the win. But Nick winning his first race and 2 second places for Robert, which I think he'll be happy with.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I tend to agree on that. Very nice race by the VQS boys. Another good drive from the VLX drivers as well. And as I said before, despite of the kind of lackluster number of drivers we had on the grid tonight, it's been really good racing anyway. We had the sprint race decided by 0.002 of a second on the line, the closest finish I've ever seen. I love, like, go check. I think I'd be surprised if there isn't a photo finish up from that one at some point tonight. It'll probably be on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. But I'd love to see it anyways. And then the feature race with such nice strategical racing, plenty of good moves. Sardegna A really lent itself to some excellent racing, I have to say. And good stuff. Good stuff indeed. That's gonna also round it off for us here in the booth from me and Fynn. Thanks for joining in with us tonight. It's been a great pleasure having you all along. And for me, I'm afraid to say that it's gonna be my last coverage of this season of VSRS, as I'm gonna be dedicating my coming Mondays to my upcoming work at Simracing World. So look forward to the rest of this series being broadcast on the official VSRS channel, if I'm not completely mistaken, or is it the Vanquish Esports channel? You do have your own channel, right?
Yes.
Yes. I was right on that one at least, and expect, well, the ogre pairing, I was about to say, the two ogres, Fons and Fynn, I'm sorry not to call you ogres or anything, but it just sounds like I've been playing too much Dungeons and Dragons lately, it seems.
Oh wow.
But as always, Fynn, on the serious note, relatively serious note, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me here in the booth. Thanks, Mew. Thank you for tuning in. And that is bittersweet, kind of, Chris. I feel the same way. It's been so much fun being on these broadcasts. But thanks to Vanquish Esports and the VSRS boys in general for having me, for letting us here at Half the Race Gone have a go, have a dig at your series, and thanks for working with us. It's been nice for now, and surely there's more to come. With that said,
we've got to say a big thank you as well before we round off to you. Obviously, we've had so many good races, and none of you guys could have even seen this action if it wasn't for the commentary prowess that is Dirten DK.
Thank you.
As we even get the cheers in the background, I appreciate that. I am a great speaker. But yeah, I really appreciate the streams. It's been fun when we did it with me and Fonz as well, with you as well. I think it's been a good season so far. We still have the final few races to go and pick ourselves up in the season after a very weird round today. But we promise to try our best to make it better for you guys next time. But thank you very much, Dirten.
Yeah, thanks guys. So sweet. You've got me Oh, I don't know what to say. That very rarely happens indeed. So
It's like you're fleeing the country.
yeah, what? What's going on? Oh well, with that emotional exit, thanks so much for tuning in tonight, guys. And leave a like if you like what we've been doing to you, me and Finn in the box tonight, with a little song. And if you want to see more of these kind of GT Sport broadcasts, of our iRacing adventures, endurance racing, me dying time and time again, and Richard Burns rally maybe, do hit the subscribe button for more of the same. And with that said, from Dirten, from Finn, it's been a pleasure. And until next time, take care, have fun, and bye-bye.
Bye.